Okay, it's snowing out, so let's go ahead and see if we can make a snowman. So the first thing we're going to do, over here we have our objects, and we're going to layers. We're going to add a new layer, and we're going to call this BK GR&D. That's going to be the background, and we're going to just draw a rectangle and choose some kind of gray like that. I think the black is a little overkill. So we're going to go with that. And so this rectangle is a child of this background layer. So we're going to go ahead and lock that, and we're going to move the background to the bottom. And then we're going to work with layer 1. Now the reason we did that is so that we can draw on top of it a white item and see it. If we draw a white item, we can't really see it, and if we click off that, whoop, gone. So we're going to select that, like that. So that's why we did that, but we're not going to use rectangle, we're going to use circle, strangely enough. So when you draw a circle, if you just click and drag, you'll see that you can easily make ellipses or a circle. If you're careful and go at 45-degree angle, you can do that. But if you if you hold down the control, you can get a better handling. So you have to really, you're going to go out to the sides or not. Shift will grow it from the center. So either way you want to do that, let's go ahead and make a circle, and we'll make it bigger. So this is going to be the bottom one, and we're just going to make a white circle, and then we're going to do Control C, Control V, and it popped over there. So this one we're going to go ahead and then make it gray. Hit this gradient, and we're going to edit that until we see the little darkness there. We're going to select both of these items together, and we're going to go to align and distribute, and we're going to align them horizontally, or center on the vertical axis, which makes them horizontally, and then we're going to center on the horizontal axis, which will do the vertical alignment. And so now we have something that kind of looks like a ball. And then we're going to Control C, or we're going to group those together. And we're going to Control C, Control V. So now we got a new group. We're going to go ahead and make that smaller. You can put that right on top of the previous snowball. So just like making a regular one. We'll slide this one down, and now we have the basics of a snowman. So, and just keep playing with it. I want to. I think. There we go. Once you get your proportions down, we'll go back to, where's our objects? Click on objects. We'll see that this layer, we're going to call this the body. So we're going to go body. And let's go ahead and lock that one down. Now we can't change any of this. So we're going to add a new layer, and we're going to say add-ons. And this is the layer we're going to work on. Put eyes and a nose, which will be a carrot, sticks for arms, and then some buttons. The eyes and mouth and buttons will be coal. So let's start off with the nose. And we're going to take a rectangle object. I'm going to make a rectangle. And pick a orange color. And go object to path. And then switch to the edit nodes. We can zoom in this bit. And what we're going to do is select one of these corners over here is going to be the end of our triangle. We'll just select one of them and then just hit delete. And and drag this in. So we're already starting to look kind of like a carrot. And just keep clicking this until it becomes a diamond shape. Then we can move, oops, these endpoints individually. Just drag those in. So now it's looking kind of like a carrot, except it's really cut off there. But we want this to be a little rounded, so we'll just go ahead and hold down the control button, click, hold down the control button, click, and then basically play with these until we get the shape we want. Yeah. Right. There you go. Alright. So we can pull that in, pull that like that, pull that down. We got something that, hey, kind of looks like a carrot. It's a big nose for that. So we'll make that smaller. Just a tad smaller. There we go. So now we got the makings of a snowman. Now let's grab our rectangle again. We're going to create another rectangle, except this time we're going to change it over to black. So poof, black, and once again, object to path. Go back to our nodes, and we're just going to double click on each side. Doesn't matter where, because we're going to be moving these around. So the whole idea here is to just move these points around until you get something that's kind of blocky, kind of like it could be a piece of coal. And so that becomes an eye. It's really big. Now if you notice it jumped around, we have this enable snapping. We're not working on a grid or anything like that, so go ahead and disable that. So now we have the basics. Still a bit too big. We'll size that down. Control C, Control V, grab one of them, put it over. Control V, grab the other one, put that over. Hey, we got a snowman with eyes. Now the mouth part's probably going to want to be a little smaller, so we can Control V, size that down. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, and position these. And then, so we get a little bit of variability, so they're not all like looking the same. We can just rotate some of these just a little bit. Just grab the corner and just rotate it just a tad bit so that it doesn't all look the same. Okay, so now we still need our button, so Control C, Control V, put a button, Control V, Control V, and move the buttons in place. I think we're done with these, but we'll put those off to the side for now. Now we need some arms, so let's go ahead and guess what? Make a rectangle. Select some kind of brown. That one will work. And need to do our object to path again. Let's zoom in. Now, we'll really zoom in a bit here. We're going to have to add several points. So we'll double click, and then we'll double click, and then double click, and then double click. And we can pull this in, pull this one in. We'll double click on the outside, pull that up, double click on the outside, pull that up, pull these in a bit. And we've got the end of a branch. Now we need to double click, add some more points here. Actually, let's undo that and make them more toward the middle. This is basically where the elbow is going to be. Then off to the side, we just select these two and pull them down. That'll give us a little bend in the branch. Although I'm thinking it's hard to see this. Let's make this a little bigger. Alright, so now we have our branch, which we can then just stick on the side. And that looks not great. So let's go ahead and size it, rotate it, rotate a little more, until you get to the point where you want to be your arms. Then we can select it, Control C, Control V, flip it horizontally, pull that off to the side, double click, and oops, select these, and we'll move these a little bit, and then click back on, just to give some variability. We'll move all those. Oops. Do that, and be able to select the whole thing. And so now we have a simple snowman. So now we're going to add one last thing, a hat. We're going to make a top hat, because you got to have a top hat. We'll start off with an oval, lips like that. We'll go ahead and make it black. And so that'll be the bottom of the hat. Then we're going to need the top of the top hat. And then we also need to have a bottom part of the, is that the brim? No, this is the brim, so this is the side of the hat. So we'll go ahead and make that a different color just to be able to know where that is. So we have our top of the top hat. That down to about there. And we should be able to, let's go ahead and then take a rectangle. While we're at it, let's just go ahead and do the object to path. Get that out of the way right now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put these together, basically make something like a cylinder. And we'll just grab a rectangle. Make that. Let's do our object to path. And then now we can position the sides to line up better with the circles. So now we have our top hat-ish thing. We'll select, let's go ahead and move this out of the way for now. Select all those items together, and I just noticed that this one's off, so unselect, go back to nodes, fix that. This one's off also. Alright. How are we doing here? Doing okay. Alright. Zoom out, select all these together, select the objects, all the objects together, and we're going to go path union. So now it's just one. Poof, we can move that down, kind of have a top hat. So we're going to need we're going to want to put a a band around this. So to do that, we're going to just use a rectangle, object path, select to edit by nodes, and we're just going to have to line these up with the ends of the cylinder, so it's just right above where it would be there. Of course, now it still doesn't look right. So if we take this whole thing and move it down, it's still not quite right. Now, go ahead and select our rectangle here. We'll go into our nodes, double click the center, roughly center, double click center, and hold down your control button and click one of these. Doesn't matter the top or the bottom, but we're going to do both. And then just pull this down till it matches there. Then you can pull these out. It doesn't have to be perfect, so if you leave a little black, it's not going to matter much because we're going to put this over the black hat part. So if you're not lined up perfect, we'll leave that like that. And then pull this one down and hit Control. Again, you're just trying to get it close. It doesn't have to be perfect. And at this point, you can decide maybe you don't want gray, maybe you want whatever color band you want. Maybe you want a dark purple band or a dark blue band or something like that. You can then select all this together. We'll just do that. We're just going to do the align and distribute vertically. So now it all lines up. Got our hat. This top part needs a little something. So let's go ahead and make another ellipse. Make it a little bigger. And let's go into the fill and make that a darker bluish black. Like that. So now we have our top hat. Control G, select everything, Control G. You say, well, now you can size the hat to whatever you want. Give it a little tilt. And you now have your snowman with arms, eyes, mouth, nose, buttons, and a top hat.